Hey, howdy everyone, Tony here. I hope you're doing well. Today I will be utilizing the TDU method of analysis to look for potential setups in the charts. Let's see what we can find. First, if you want to learn more about the TDU method, check out the site. If this video is helpful or you learned something new, please like and subscribe to stay updated with my analysis. Now let's dive into it. Hey, how's it going everybody? Tony here. Hope you're doing well. Just want to go over ES and BTC. Last week, we were looking right around here for a bit of a 3-4. Well, first of all, when we were up in this area, we were looking for a potential for it to blast off or just do a little peek over and dump. And I guess you can see what happened. So we got the sweep and the dump, and we didn't get the blast off, which was looking like a possibility. So after this dump, we can see, honestly, this is a bit ambiguous to me. So I'm going to show you here in a little bit that I have this counted a couple different ways. And either way, I'm just going to base this off as my primary actionary wave. Where we were last week, we were looking down here, looking for a potential wave 4 to offset these moves up here. We were looking for a wave 4 up, possibly, and then a move down, and then moving down past this low. That's just the basic idea. If you want to go back and check out my other videos, you should definitely go check them out. At this point, we knew this was a zigzag up because of this break here. I was saying in the last video, the hopium was that this is going to be the primary actionary wave here for a 1 of a diag potentially, and this is just going to be the secondary. And then we started heading up. As you can see, after the futures open, we got a breakdown, and then we got the move back up. Didn't nail it exactly. We were looking for a wave 4. Got something a little bit bigger here. So can we go in and count this as a correction and force 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Luckily, in Elliott Wave at least, and a lot of the other things, we can always count on hindsight to tell us where we were right, where we were wrong, and use the past PA as anchors. As you can see here, I was pretty positive that we were going to do a 1, 2, and then we were putting in the 3 for a 4 or 5 down. Obviously, that didn't happen. One thing that I was positive on is that I wasn't ready to short right in this area because there was a potential that we would get a move back up deeper. And I think I was looking at this level initially. Not to excuse everything that I get wrong, but in this situation and with Elliott Wave and some of the other methods, is if your analysis keeps you out of the market at the right time, that's just as much as a win as nailing the directions to the tick. So what we got the move up. I thought we were going to do some sideways here, but we ended up going a bit deeper. And then honestly, I had no idea about April 2nd being the Tariff Tuesday thing or whatever it was, the tariff day. In the last video, I was looking for a capitulative dump as a possibility as well. No idea that it was a timed event, although I probably would have played it a little bit differently here. But we got the dump as well, and we're just going on from there. It's been going down ever since. Why is ES such a big deal, and why am I talking about ES here? Well, because ES typically, it's the big dog. Now that BTC is a little bit more correlated with stock markets and everything, it's not a bad idea to have an idea where the ES or the stocks to see where you are in this count and use it not so much as a direct correlation for like tick to tick, but you can use this as an indicator for direction potentially. Correlations always change. Even from day to day, they can change. So it's important to keep it as more of an indicator. Sometimes it's going to hit at the exact same time as the other one, but typically it should be used more as an indicator than anything else. So what I want to do real quick is bring up Bitcoin and see where we're at, see if we got how the correlation is looking, and you can see how tight it has been in the past, where we're at now as far as the deviation that we have. And like I said, it's not a one-to-one correlation, and I went over this in one of my other videos as well, but we can see that typically the direction is pretty much the same. There might be different reactions to one or the other depending on what their own charts hold or how tight the correlation is. But you can see there's a pretty consistent correlation where, as far as direction goes. And the big deviation we have here is this. We get to get the primary dump on that tariff day, but it seems like after the next day, after the tariffs, this is where we start getting the deviation. So a couple thoughts on this. Either we're in the new era and Bitcoin is going to do its own thing, it's going to moon, or the other stocks dump and this is going to be the new safe place to hide. BTC just was too beat up and now we're going to bounce and wait for ES for a potential bounce. Or BTC's waiting here and eventually we're going to catch up with the correlation and dump down. BTC could be correlated with another asset, maybe DXY. It likes DXY better for some reason this week. So looking over here, we've been breaking pivots to the left on ES. So the question is was this break here the end of it? Potentially sweeping liquidity, then we're going to go head up for some internal, and that's it? Or are we going to just continue on dumping? Last week, in the last week's video, I was looking for a capitulative dump. This could be it. This could be, I may have gotten lucky and this may be that dump. But the second part of the dump hypothesis or theory was that we're going to get some V-shaped recovery. So this would all be some trickery here, knock everybody out, and then we recover and head up to new highs. We still need to see where that's at. If we're going to go using the Elliott Wave, then it doesn't look complete quite yet. Typically, if this is some wave 4 or some other corrections, we can see these areas play as support for that correction. You can see that it's played before where we've come in, found support, and then broken up. So we're seeing how we react in this range here to see if we're going to at least get some correction up, or if we're going to head on further down to like something down here, this little oasis, or head down to this larger range down here to find support. I'm leaning more toward a little bit more toward the downside just based off the Elliott Wave, but we'll have to see. We're still in just a straight down dump. Don't really know where we are. These things can extend to 3, 6, 1, 8, these other corrections up here. So we still don't have a wave 4 of the lesser degree at this point to use as an anchor to see where we are in the larger count. Typically, when we're looking at corrections, the primary actionary wave that comes off of the high in the form of an A wave or whatever wave, the primary actionary wave is typically the most sharp, where we have the secondary actionary wave being less sharp, and you get more of a gradual looking move that takes a little bit longer than the primary move here. That's not what we're getting. We're getting the swifter looking move so far in the secondary actionary wave. Primary actionary wave is less swift than this at the moment. Things could change, but this isn't very typical in what you see in a secondary actionary wave of a correction, whether it be double zigzag, regular zigzag, whatever it may be. That's just a guideline, but typically what you want to look for is swift move in the primary, less swift move in the secondary, showing that the move is slowing down and that we're looking for a potential move back to the upside. I'm going to throw on some other things here, 4 hour. So here's what I'm looking at overall. Nice, simple, clean idea. I think we have the primary actionary wave could be 1AW. I think I wouldn't argue with anybody any certain way. I mean, if this looks like a B, C, or WXY in there, if you can figure out a way to count this as a 1, 2, 3, little 4, 5, could go either way. But typically, we're looking for the same wave relationships between the primary and secondary wave anyway. So I'm really looking to see where we play out there. This secondary move obviously looks like a complete 3-wave move. It's fitting most of the characteristics that we typically look for. It's swift, it's fast in price, and it's going pretty deep pretty quick here. So using that as our anchor here, we're going to build backwards and then see where we're at. So in either case, playing as our anchor here, the next thing we have to look for, and the next thing we have clarity on, is that we have a move down, a corrective looking 3-wave move up, another swift move down, another 3-wave move up, and then a swiftest of every move so far. So we have to wait for this to end before we know for sure. Do you want to jump in here? I mean, it could keep going down, and you might be right. We might go straight to the 1618 down at 4800. But you don't really know. You don't really know where to get in unless you go down deeper into the time frames. But according to this, what we really want to look for is waiting for this to end, because we don't want to catch a falling knife. Look for our fibs here as clues, and some of the other clues we look for in a wave 3. We're getting closer to the 2618, but we've already surpassed the base channel. We've went past the base channel of the higher degree as well. So right now, all this stuff is adding up to this not being a correction and being some motive wave down. What we have to do is wait for this wave 3 to end and get some correction up to an area of interest before we know exactly where we are in this smaller degree count. And then we can base our idea off there. For typical for a wave 4, we're looking for 382, we're looking for 236, we're looking for bounce off the base channel. Since we have since we have a sharp correction here in the wave 2, potentially for a wave 4, we're going to get some sideways before we move on to a potential wave 5 here. Ideally for the bulls or for people looking to invest, I think we have to wait for this impulse, at least at the smaller degree here, to finish before we even consider doing some long. If this is the end of the correction down here and we get in here, we'd want to wait for a correction back here to get in for a potential for it to be done and go up, but with the idea in mind that this is just a larger degree correction before continuing on. I think what we have to do is wait for this 3 to end and see what forms out of that correction. If we get an impulse up, of course, for a C3 setup, we're always looking for that impulse up out of an area of interest, and then the correction internal before we start moving up for a potential wave C or 3. And by adjusting our money management and our take profits, we can take advantage of that situation. So that's what I'm looking for there. Now, I guess the next question is this thing going to end? Well, going to cut down to the 15. I think we do have some potential here. It's the weekend. Anything can happen. We have to wait and see what happens. But down here on the 15-minute, got a little bit of a diagonal looking situation going on. So this could be a potential spot to look for it to end, but we don't know for sure. Until we start breaking some of these pivots up here, and especially the higher up ones, the higher degree ones, we won't really know if this is complete or not. So this is what I'm looking for down on the 15-minute. This to potentially complete, and then we're going to move up, and then look for some impulsive move up and correction to look for the larger degree correction to play out. So with all that in mind, we have to look at the correlation, I think, with Bitcoin here. We can see we have that divergence. So I think from this angle, if the correlation stays true, BTC is going to catch up here eventually, and we're going to dump through. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. All right, going to start with Bitcoin out here on the weekly and work my way in. Don't want this to be too long of a video, so I'm just going to start with the weeklies, just some notes on this, and then we'll dive deeper in and look for a setup, I think. These are the main levels we have to look at. Depending on how you count this wave 5 up here, that could be it for now. We're still internal to this range, so it's not definitive that we're done here. Anything can happen, everything, maybe the tariffs work out, whatever it may be. Maybe we're just correcting in this internal range here before we get the move up. That still is a possibility. Depending on what you want to look at here, we got some divergences with this higher high. You can find that in wave 1s of 3s though. And then all of a sudden we get a nice move up and we get bigger momentum coming in for the wave 3. If that does happen, we'd want to see some more volume coming in and some more momentum. Still in the wheelhouse of possibilities, in my opinion. But we need some proof first, and we'll find that on the smaller time frames, we'll find the proof there first, and we need that to be proven before we can get any confidence in the larger degree, for the larger degree to work out in the direction that we want it to, or that is projected by the smaller degree. We were watching this level here at 89. That broke. If you count this as some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that was the level that we knew that this move up here was complete. That there wasn't going to be, this wasn't the 105, and that we were going to continue up here. That proved to us that we were going to get a deeper correction, and that's what we got. And as you can see here, we've had price break down and then come back for a retest, and that's all this has been so far, has been a retest. Even though we've come like deeper into the range here, we have not been able to hold it and flip anything into support and then a move up. Anything that we've seen has been a spike up, and you can, when we dig down deeper, I'll show you a little bit better, but you can see here, we have not been able to flip this level that played as such great support, has been playing as resistance now. Until the bulls can prove to us that, you know, it's going to be more than just a bounce off place for bears to jump in, and we flip it into support, I think there's a possibility that we're going to be heading down for a longer correction. Corrections can be funny. You can get sideways corrections, so we still in this range as well, where this could come up and some zigzag up, and then we have some flat correction going on. I'm just going to zoom down here real quick and I'll show you. So here's our line that I was pointed out, and everything but through here has been pretty much just spikes up and rejections every time. and we're getting lower highs there as well. So that's what we're looking for there. As soon as this level here breaks, and when I zoom out, you'll see it. That's really when we're going to start getting into, what is this? If we do end up doing something like this, that is a possibility. First thing we're going to have to do is start breaking these levels down here and turning it up. I am going to be watching, since this is a potential diagonal, as I've seen. It all depends on how this move up goes. If we start blasting up like that, and it's crypto, we could just be doing a rocket ship. But if we start doing that, then there's potential that we could be putting in some larger degree impulse here. And this was the bottom back here. If we start doing some lazy correction like this, we can see the intricacy of each wave, and it does all that kind of stuff. There's a possibility that we're putting in some corrective phase, because as I said in the ES, when we're looking for confidence and continuation in a trend, we're going to see some nice price action that proves that that's the way the market wants to go. Boom, boom, that could definitely happen. It's happened before. It happens all the time. Really want to see a move up, sharp move up, and then some corrective to these levels that have played in the past and our area of interest for, Trade Devil Method and Elliott Wave, get some confluent areas that we can play off at the higher degree if it does head up. If we end up doing one of these and it's all lazy and lethargic, then I'm going to start looking for a move down. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go back out to the weekly here, and I'll just go over some of these other levels real quick. These are just some of the levels I'm watching that have some Elliott Wave importance on them. Some of the pivots here. Has this topped? There's definitely a potential. That's what it's looking like. We really don't have confirmation until we start breaking these pivots here, all depending on how your count looks. As soon as we break the wave 2 here, let's say this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As soon as we start breaking into the wave 2, that puts the impulse to rest, and we can guarantee that based off the theory, this is not an impulse. Depending on how fast we get in there and get out, some people could go back and argue about that, but this is the main level here, and then we don't actually know for sure that this level, that this impulse move up here is complete and that we're done for now and going to be retracing lower for a potential larger correction. This level's way down at 50K. We want to find clues that are going to get us out way before 50K, but this is the definitive level where motive wave, impulse, all that stuff is complete, and then we have a possibility for some larger degree of correction to come in. Down here on the 4 hour, just want to go over this count here. One thing I want to look at is this still a potential triangle? And the short answer, spoiler alert, is yes. I think it's still a potential. We have the context. Just as long as we think this is the orthodox end of the wave up here, this has a potential because we are within contracting trend lines. We have corrective movements within side potentially, and we have the volume. We do have some clues and evidence that will add up to our case of this being a potential triangle. You can see here at the break, at the tariff day, we did get a drop on there, and we got volume starting to go up on average. So another clue to look at there as well. Or on the last video, we were down in this area, and that's what we were looking for, this to be a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a larger ABC potential. Could go a couple ways, but I think we were looking for one more leg down at least, and then a potential for another 4 or 5 to come in before a move up, which would have gave us an impulse. I think this last move down still leans that this could be a 3-wave move of some kind. So we were okay here on this bounce up. Got a little bit of trickery, which it's not the perfect ideal zigzag that we want to see. Per the rules of EWI, we can only really have one complex wave structure within the subwaves of a triangle. And the look of this is a little sus as far as that goes. But it still played out. We still stayed within this range here before we dumped down, making this a potential E-wave. We did end up going above the AC trend line here, which I posted on X is the most likely thing to happen. It happens more often than not, I think was the verbiage. So we got a swift move down from here. This adds some contention as to what we're looking at now, because there is another bearish way to count this, and I'm going to go over that here in a second. I'm keeping an eye on this the best because it has given me so many clues, and we've been able to not call these to the tick or anything, but price didn't go way down or way up. We were looking for this to stay internal before we got the move down. So we're getting some clues. Clues don't mean a definitive answer that it's going to happen one way or another. It's just getting an ideal and building evidence for a case for us to use as trade setups or as something to base our trades off of. Just as long as we stay within this range correctively, I think there's a chance that we could get a push down. We've been stuck under this level here at 85, the 85 area. A break above here would have me lean toward the bull side a bit more. Well, but sticking with this theory here, we'd have to see how we do it. If it's in the form of some corrective pattern, then we would lean more toward this coming down, because this could be the start of a 1 or an A wave down here if this is the completion of the triangle. So we get a 1 or A down, a corrective within this range, and then we're going to get a move down. So huge levels, huge area to keep an eye on. We could have been rejected already here. I think that would suffice as a correction. We didn't quite make golden zone or any of that. So not the super ideal setup, but we had this strong level here, and that could have been it. It could have been one last test before we get a move up. Let me just put this on here. Okay, so if hasn't reached the 50 there, and we're at the 382 if we go off of this pivot here. So we haven't gotten the ideal setup. Of course, if this is super bearish, sometimes you're not going to get those deeper traces before the turnover. So this could be it. One thing we have to look for, and what I'm looking for confirmation that the bear case is on still, is a break of this level here. So I don't think you're too late yet. Of course, with crypto, all of a sudden we just dump down and you don't have a chance, that second entry. So if we get one of these and we get a little impulse down, break this, and a correction up, I think that's when we have to start looking for the potential downside there. And that would be the ideal entry there, is the 1 2 1 2 or A B 1 2 C, and then we're going down. This is my main level I'm keeping an eye on. This does invalidate the bullish count, which I'll go over here in a second, but I think this is the main level I'm watching to add. Or if I get knocked out somewhere up here of my short, I'm going to be looking for a break of this level and then a correction back to it for a retest before it starts dumping down even more. And that's what I'm watching for on the bear side. I'm going to take everything off here and just look at some other possibilities. So if we just look at this structure right here, there's still a couple possibilities we could be doing here. I'm still leaning on this being a 3-wave move up, 3-wave move down. And that's the fun thing about zigzag, is that they're the gatekeeper to sideways and Elliott Wave fuckery, because just one zigzag may not be the end of the correction, depending on the context and everything else. But this zigzag opens up the door to so much other sideways corrections that it can get pretty crazy. So I have this, and this would be the quickest way to get out of this mess, or out of this sideways, is that this is a triangle for the bears, and that we're doing some contracting triangle here, running contracting triangle. But we'll have to look back and see here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit just to check this real quick. So if this was the top here, I'm just going to go to here. Okay, so we're not even at the 1-to-1 yet. So we're getting closer and closer to proportion. There's a 1618. So we still have some room to grow. Let me just put on the 618 real quick. 618 put us back here at this high where I have the Y. So we still have some time, and this can still look proportionate because we haven't hit the 1-to-1 in time yet. So if this is some bigger sideways correction, we still have that as an option. I have this as a potential triangle here, and then we're done and we're going down. Well, what if this is only the W? This is the X, A, B, C, D, E, and now we're heading down. So we still have some room in here. There's the same entry for either of these corrections. So for this one, of course, we got the WX, Y as a triangle. We're still looking for a correction within this range for a short. Same thing with the triangle. If this triangle is ended here, and this is the impulsive move of the secondary wave secondary action wave off of this move down here, we're looking for the secondary actionary wave here. This could be the 1-2 here, or an A, B, and we're headed down for a C of something bigger. This wave right here is the huge anchor that we have to watch, and which way this is going to break. Just put on the bull count here. I do like this count. All right, so turning off the triangle here, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the bull count that I like. I do like this. We have to consider that this is the orthodox end, and then we have to find a nice count that we like from move down to this point. But I think this does measure out good, and it does have a nice look to it because of this move down here. It's all coming back to this impulsive move here and how we're going to come out of this. Going both ways, if we go down even deeper here, you can see we do have a nice, decent looking impulsive move here. I put this in the Discord when it was in the wave 4, so right here. But we do have an impulsive potential move up. Is this some A, B, C, and this was a C wave and we're heading down? That could be a possibility as well. It's all on how we break this level, or even if you want to count that as here, as that, and we're in some flat correction here. I think this is the level we have to watch. This is the closest level. So we're still in the Elliott Wave ambiguity area, where it could be one thing, it could be another thing. I'm sure everyone's going to have their strong opinion on it, but there is a way that I showed you when we first started here with the triangle that we can play whichever direction it is, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play whichever direction it breaks. The investor in me, of course, wants everything to go up, but if we get signs of it that it wants to head down, I'm going to be trading that. So down here on the hourly, I'm really watching this level. If we break this, since this has been such support back here, if we get a break of that, I'm going to be watching for the underside there to play as resistance. Depending on how you count it or how you see it, if you're bullish or bearish, is this a one wave up here and then this is some sideways correction and then we're heading up? That could be a possibility. We're going to have to see what happens. First of all, if we break this level here, if this is some sideways, if we start heading up, but all that could lead to is a potential for a wave C before we get more down. So depending on your time frame and what you want to play and how degen you are, holding to see which level breaks and what PA is being printed and how it's being printed to look for an idea on which way you want to play it. With ES dumping like it has, when we looked at it for ES, it all started changing a little bit when we got the tariff news. So as right there, so we got the dump, it dumped together, and then after that bounce there, came down, and then the next day, after the open here, BTC bounced up and started going sideways, and ES just started dumping. I'm leaning a bit more bearish just because I use ES as an indicator of mine. So if ES is dumping, I pretty much am going to think that Bitcoin is going to dump and follow it eventually. If not a tight correlation right away, that eventually Bitcoin is going to get a little too far behind, and ES has a potential of pulling it back down. If Bitcoin is going to be the new place to hide and store value and all that kind of stuff in a potential recession, and that's what everyone's narrative is, that's definitely a possibility. But I'm going to be watching the price action here and just play off of that. So just to go over everything here, it's all about these two levels for me and how we break them. Of course, nothing's for sure. We could do something like this. Who knows? But I'm really watching for a break of this level. Since these levels have played as support and or resistance, I'm going to be watching for these to either get broken and we find some support on them, or if we're just going to blast through it and find some support later on and dump down. Ideally, I'd like to see it come into the 50 and then we can get a lot more confluence. This could have been it right here because this has been the stronger level here in the last couple weeks. But yeah, break of these in either way. I'm watching for either correction back to it or breakdown to the next level, find a corrective move up here for continuation down. If things change, I'll try and post it more in the Discord. But yeah, these levels here should be alarmed, and we'll see how PA plays around that. With that, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, definitely hit me up, let me know. Trade safe, trade clarity. Take it easy. Later.